Hello and welcome back to another video. This video is all about the unlicensed shooters for the Sega Megadrive. There were 6 shooters released in total for the system over its life. Some of them extremely rare, some of them quite rare, some of them not so rare. But they're all special in their own way. So let's take a look at every single one of them. Before we start, remember, don't be a prick, always use an arcade stick. Let's take a look. The first game on the list is Sealand, probably the most well known game out of the 6 here. Unfortunately, this is well known for all the wrong reasons. Many people know that at the end of each level of this game, you're treated to a wonderful hentai image of a semi-naked female. And although this is pretty great, the game itself isn't entirely unplayable as many people say it is. In fact, the game does scroll quite smoothly and the hit detection isn't that bad for an unlicensed game. Unfortunately, as you can see from the images, parallax scrolling in the game is pretty eye-watering. Unfortunately, the game is quite basic. There's no power-ups to collect throughout the game and your ship doesn't even come equipped with a mega bomb. The standard shot can be upgraded, but as you can see from the footage, it's still fairly weak and very underwhelming. There's 5 levels to play through in the game, and although each level is vastly different from the last, the enemy types and enemy attack patterns are all fairly similar, so boredom soon sets in. In fact, the only real reason to play through the game is for the naked ladies. So unfortunately, this game is one to avoid. Unless of course you enjoy looking at cartoon images of females. One thing I will say about this game though, is that it would have been quite a title to own back as a child. When I was young, I had to go hunting through woodlands to find any source of pornography. So to be able to have it in my room and to watch at my own leisure, even though it's only cartoons, would have been pretty awesome. And I'm sure I would have been the coolest kid in the street. Next up we have the Earth Defend, the cheapest shooter in this video. Earth Defense looks quite promising from its opening intro, but then the title screen appears and it says something completely different from the title on the box. At this point you know it's going to go downhill. The story goes that Earth has been invaded by aliens and it's up to you as the last great pilot to dun 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 defend the Earth. Just like Sealand, this game has 5 levels and each level is quite different from the last. However, the locations in this game are fairly genetic, consisting of things like a field and a canyon, although you do get to go to space on the last level. The game is by no means a bullet hell shooter, however the enemies do move rather fast and they do appear from all directions in the screen. However, throughout time you realise that all the enemies in the various levels have the exact same attack patterns and you soon learn where they're going to appear. Your ship has a few weapon options. Your basic pea shooter is quite weak but can handle most enemies. You can also pick up a wave beam or a spread shot. These can also be upgraded several times. And this is a must, as when it comes to the bosses your pea shooter just won't cut it. This is when the mega bomb comes in handy. This turns your ship invincible and allows you to fly into the boss for maximum damage. You can also collect pods or options to accommodate you for extra firepower. Unfortunately, this is another game that is not worth playing. Although there's nothing drastically wrong with it, it's just a boring, drab, basic shooter and one that certainly wouldn't make much of a dent on the Megadrive with games like Thunderbolt to play. On to the next. Next up is Adventurous Boy by GameTech. As you can probably tell by the footage, Adventurous Boy is a blatant copy of Fantasy Zone. It has the same style of look and levels. Your main objective is to blow up a number of bases and you can even visit a shop for weapon and speed upgrades. Basically everything that Fantasy Zone does. One thing it doesn't do what Fantasy Zone manages is to scroll. It moves along like a series of still images instead of a nice silky smooth animation. Unfortunately, this ruins any enjoyment you're likely to get from the game. It's practically unplayable at parts due to this slowdown, which is a real shame as this game could have been really fun. I don't really know what the main character is meant to be. I thought he was a bee at first, but the bases you blow up appear to be honeycombs, so you're either a bee that's trying his hardest to lose weight, or you're a bit of a badass because you have a hat on. There's a small variety in enemies, but the bosses are quite fun. The shop has all the standard items that Fantasy Zone has, so nothing spectacular like a nuclear bomb or anything like that. Fortunately, I just cannot recommend this, due to the fact that Fantasy Zone is a much better game and is cheaper to buy than this game. However, if you're a collector, then this is definitely worth picking up as it is incredibly rare and may also be one of the rarest games to buy for the Megadrive. Certainly complete in box anyway. I know of only one copy in existence, so if anyone has one, then I would love to know. Unfortunately, because this game is so rare, pricing it is quite difficult. If you are fortunate enough to find yourself a box copy, expect to pay a few £100s. Next up is Space Turtle Battleship. This one is quite an unusual beast as it was actually produced by Samsung. It's a Korean exclusive and is incredibly mysterious in its origins. Very little is known about the game despite being based on quite a significant piece of history. The battleship in question was a Korean warship used to defend Korea's waters for several centuries. It's quite a striking image due to a huge dragon head at the front of the vessel. Fortunately, the vessel in this game doesn't follow the same rules of physics that the original did, as this one now flies and can even transform. But enough of a history lesson, onto the game. Space Turtle Battleship gets a bit of flack from people, but I actually really like it. For an unlicensed game, the programme is pretty good. It scrolls fairly smooth, the hit detection ain't that bad, although your ship is quite large, so it's difficult to avoid the many bullets. Your ship can pick up speed, power-ups, as well as weapon upgrades. These range from a wider shot to a stronger laser. You also have a bomb, but this is fairly standard. The one place the game really shines is in its levels. There's 8 in total, but a few are split into 2 halves, so it's quite a lengthy game. What I really like is how varied the levels are. The whole game is in Korea, so I don't know the story, but I assume the turtle ship is some sort of time travel device, as levels range from dinosaur filled volcanoes to feudal Japan, while making a pit stop through 1942 war-torn era. The game even takes a trip into what looks like a Samsung computer factory, complete with vicious motherboards. The game is standard Megadrive affair in terms of difficulty. Fairly easy once powered up, but once you die, it's incredibly frustrating to gain any progress again. Overall, if you can find a copy, which is incredibly difficult, this is a worthwhile buy, but be warned, as it does go for sale for between £100 and £200. Second from last, we have Thunderbolt 2. This game, like many others, is surrounded in a bit of a mystery. It was originally a Chinese release, however my version is a Japanese copy, but there's some debate on the internet whether or not they actually existed. It may or may not just be a bootleg. The game itself is a fairly standard affair. If you've ever played the game Dangerous Seed, also on the Megadrive, you'll know what to expect here. There's 3 weapons to pick from and each weapon can be powered up 3 times. In addition to that, you could collect these floating blue orbs that rotate around your ship, allowing you to deflect enemy bullets. The levels themselves are a decent enough length, and they do vary. However, the enemy patterns aren't exactly inspired, and the bullets move at quite a slow pace. Coupled with this, with a health bar, and the game is rather easy. However, the music is not too bad, and the hit detection is reasonably good for an unlicensed game. One thing I do like is how at the beginning of each level it shows you the end boss and gives you a little description of what they are. Probably the main draw of this game, like many of the others, is its rarity. Quite an uncommon game, and trying to find one on eBay is quite a challenge, and when you do, it will more than likely set you back between £100 and £200. The game is okay and is quite enjoyable, but it really is one for the collectors out there. Finally, we have Magic Girl by GameTech. Magic Girl is an incredibly difficult game to find. Loose copies do appear on eBay now and again, but after reading a few blogs, people aren't sure if a complete copy even exists. This could be one of the rarest Megadrive games ever. Definitely up there with Lakers vs Celtic. Unfortunately, rare doesn't mean great in this case, as Magic Girl is terrible. Magic Girl can be classed as a shoot 'em up, I suppose, but it's a fairly standard vertical shooter. The story goes that the world is in danger from an evil, so who do you call? A 12-year-old girl on a broomstick, of course. This ain't no ordinary teenager though, as this one can fly and fire balls from her hands. So off she pops to save the world through 5 stages ranging from deserts to space. It must have been the same employee of the month who programmed Adventurous Boy who did this, because right from the start, the choppiness of the scrolling makes your brain ache. Again, this is an absolute shame, as graphics wise it ain't too bad. Sure, everything is a bit basic, but there's plenty of colours used, especially in the enemy design, which ranges from aliens to bats to flying pencils. A sharp pencil can be lethal in the wrong hands, don't you know? The game itself isn't too difficult due to having a health bar. A health bar in a shooter is a big no-no if you ask me, but first rate and death do occur due to bullets appearing from thin air due to the choppy scrolling. So unfortunately, this is another game I cannot recommend. I'm seeing a bit of a pattern here. It's a real shame because this game does show quite promise. There's not that many shoot 'em ups on the Mega Drive to pick from, so it certainly would have done reasonably well if the scrolling was up to par. So there you go guys, 6 unlicensed games for the Sega Mega Drive. Unfortunately, none of these games really stood much of a chance on the Mega Drive, due to them being such classics such as the Thunder Force series on the system. However, they're definitely worth owning from a collector's point of view, as the rarity makes them stand out from the crowd. Hope you enjoyed this video guys, and I hope to be back with some other lists, including a PC Engine Top 50, and maybe even Top 20 Sega Saturn games. Thanks for watching, take it easy.